Warning. The following podcast contains politics, leftist politics, the whole truth, justice, American way thing. We live in a time where one has to post this. Progress is a dirty word, such as science and reason. My superheroes would weep. This podcast contains naughty language as well. Hello everyone, this is Sergio from DC Domingo. It's been a while. And first of all, thank you for sticking with me. I don't really do these shows for clicks, reviews, or even monetize them. Basically, I just do this because it's fun. I like to edit. I like to give my take on things. And for the longest of time, there wasn't a lot of DC fans out there on YouTube. Ever since, they've been getting more and more popular. So it's nice. Well, what's new? I happened to catch COVID. COVID-19. The whole family got it. We don't know how we got it. We worked with the Sonoma County people to try and figure out the source of the problem. We helped out as much as we could with information. It could be anybody from somebody that works with my brother at a factory. Could have been our landlady who was walking door to door, looking kind of sickly, handing out notifications of rent increase, which later turned out to be illegal, so they recanted that. But if she was sick and was handing out that kind of stuff, it was like, dude, what the hell? Could have been somebody in the bus that didn't, wash their hands. I take the bus, so it could have been me. I don't know. Now we just don't know with this virus. So luckily for us, we survived. You can see here I'm wearing a Batman shirt because I figured, and yes, I did go to the hospital. I figured if I'm going to die, I'm going to go out with Batman. I went to the hospital because I had a panic attack. A lot of shit was coming in, a lot of information. I was mostly worried about my dad because he's a senior citizen. But I couldn't breathe, and that's when I was like, oh shit, this virus is gonna kill me. Because I don't know if you know much about it, but once you're in incubation, they put you in a breather, you're incubated away from people in this containment area, and they put a breather down your throat, esophagus, and you have a high chance of losing a lot of muscle. You can get a heart attack. It's crazy. But I had a panic attack and it turned out to be okay. We all survived, so that was nice. And currently we're battling fires up here in California. So now you know I haven't posted shit in a while. But yeah, we're gonna keep going with this awesome episode. I just wanted to catch you guys up on where I was and why I was kind of away. Alright, in this particular episode 58, Justice Con and Comic Con Online, we're mostly going to talk about Justice Con because quite frankly, this event was put together by fans. These amazing ladies put together this Justice Con just mostly for DC and Zack Snyder related stuff. They managed to get a lot more track on social media than the actual Comic-Con. Now, I'm not one of those people who are just going to be shitting on Comic-Con, because that's not what I do. I did check out a couple panels from Comic-Con that I am going to talk about, but within the same weekend, these ladies gave us some really good, DC content, and a lot of the fanboys didn't like that. They were like, oh, these ladies didn't know how to act, blah, 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 and it was just they were just triggered, because a lot of these dudes have their own YouTube channels. They all want this exclusivity. They all want to one-up another, and they all want those clicks, man. You can kind of tell who's doing it for money and who's doing it because they fucking like it. But anyways, I got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. And yeah, this is weeks after, but I think you should still go check it out. A lot of people might be new to Zack Snyder. They might have heard the Zack Snyder cut, and they might want to know what went down this is a great place to go if you haven't. And if you have seen it, you're gonna get to hear my take. So yeah, we're gonna talk about JusticeCon and a couple panels from Comic-Con Online. So these were news. I don't know if you guys heard, but the second season for Stargirl is moving to the CW. And of course, a lot of the clickbait media websites were like, that's it, DC Universe is canceled. Because if you've been paying attention, they canceled DC Daily, and they also moved Doom Patrol to HBO Max. So these were the only two shows that were like available on DCU app. But however, we also got word that Titans season 3 is still happening. So I don't know how people can say like the DCU is fucking canceled when they still have content. So I don't know. I honestly believe that it would be on the investment of HBO Max to bundle DC Universe combined, and I think they should revamp who they hire. Now Stargirl, I did finish watching the season. I still stand by the fact that Greg Beeman from Smallville should take over that show, and now that they're gonna have it on the CW, Berlanti and B-Man could create some really cool shit other than like, JSA Jr., or whatever. It's basically the Justice Society of America Junior years, It's like, okay. They can probably do a lot more, and they can even put like younger kids in there. I don't know. I think it'd be great because Lightning and Thunder can make a cameo from Black Lightning. That'd be awesome. I'm just speculating. But yeah, season 1 of Stargirl, how do I put it? There were things I liked and things that I didn't like. But overall, Jeff Johns got his first season. And now, I don't know if he's going to work with the company or not. But CW can make it happen for the second season for Stargirl. I don't know, just a lot more fights, more stunts. That could be cool. I did like Solomon Grundy. He looked pretty awesome. And like I said, dude, if you can do King Shark, Gorilla Grodd, and Solomon Grundy, there's no fucking excuse why ABC never fucking had the Hulk in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're like, it's gas of the budget. And fuck it. Cheap-ass motherfuckers. Now, a lot of people were, moving on, a lot of people were kind of dissing Ruby Rose for leaving Batwoman. But, when I first was typing this out, they just casted a new Batwoman. And people were kind of losing their minds. For me, I just hope it's more than just like a version of Jason Todd, because the way they described this new character, who's not Katie Kane, it seemed like they were just trying to do the scruffy Jason Todd, or a little bit more spunky, a little bit more streetwise. I hope that this doesn't become like a bi version of Jason Todd, by an African-American woman. I think that if you're going to cast an African-American woman to be the new Batwoman, you need to do more than just the rogue who's a little bit bad, but a little bit good, It's like, you got to try a little bit harder, because, like, they're going to compare it to Jason Todd. So it would be cool if they do something clever. I hope Ruby Rose comes back for maybe a cameo, maybe for the season finale or mid-season finale. I don't know. It would be cool. She could just do it from Zoom. She could be like giving video calls and stuff like that. Hey, I'm traveling the world, or I'm doing this and doing that, whatever. Ruby Rose recently stated that COVID played a huge role in leaving the show. She just didn't feel safe. And dude, when you had a stunt that almost killed you and then you have this pandemic, I don't fucking blame her, dude. It's a very important character. She's very proud of the work she did, but you gotta be safe. Moving on, we had an amazing opportunity for a Todd McFarlane documentary on Sci-Fi. I was fucking hyped, man. I kept seeing the commercials. I was really hyped, and when it came out, I was like, what the fuck is this? I was a little bit disappointed because they left out so much shit from Todd McFarlane. There is an independent documentary about Image Comics, which I think is even better than this. Go ahead and buy that one. On this one, I think they dropped the ball. They talked to Todd a little bit, but they missed out on a lot of things that Todd did. For instance, they don't go into like how he gained notoriety in mainstream by going on these TV shows and talking about his baseball collection, because he was the one who was trying to buy a lot of high-profile memorabilia. I don't know if he still has them or resold them or didn't get them, but the Mark McGwire and the Sammy Sosa collections of those incredible hit, home runs, he was purchasing them. So he was going on these TV shows and talking about spending millions of dollars on these collectibles, and he would always used to plug in his comic books, dude. That stuff is big. It was mainstream. It was awesome. So that they dropped a ball on that one, pun intended. They also didn't interview a lot of the Image guys like Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee. I mean, even you can still get them. So that was kind of a lag. They also didn't talk about all the other breakaway super hits from Image. They did focus a little bit on The Walking Dead, and I do have a correction because Kirkman was there, and they listed him as the sole creator of The Walking Dead. And if I recall correctly, Tony Moore and Kirkman did have like a little lawsuit going on that, from now on each of them had to be co-creators, and they patched things up after, a bad fallout. So yeah, the documentary, also dropped a ball there. It should have been named co-creator of The Walking Dead, Kirkman, which apparently Kirkman was treated like shit in Marvel. So yeah, that's another little bit of news, and not surprising. And I think that Marvel that he got was the one that was being controlled by Disney and was being squeezed out of every penny. And I was just trying to make the headlines of like, this character does something crazy. This character comes out as this, like they just wanted like those quick headlines of like, ooh, new hot take on a character instead of actual stories. And I think that's where Kirkman excels. He loves to tell so many fucking stories. And I think that's where they butted heads. Speaking of stories, Matt Reeves is developing a Gotham CDP show for HBO Max, and after the preview we saw, you can kind of understand why. So yeah, those were the other cool stories that we kind of missed out on that. This section is called The Rotting. There are elements out there in social media that are just so fucking toxic that like they go beyond that and they just kind of rot everything around it. And this section talks about that. Now I want to give a big shout out to someone who's been pulling out the weeds on social media for several fucking years, man. Since 2016, really. Artist and director, and now who owns the studio of animation himself, Jay Oliva. Yep, he's been working for both Marvel and DC animations, and both for Disney and Warner Brothers, doing storyboards for films. He worked with Zack Snyder on Men of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, I believe, also. So yeah, he's been privy to a lot of cool information, and he usually puts people in their place online because, he doesn't have any fucks to give. And I think this section, I hope this section opens your eye to one thing that I fucking find myself battling, and that is fucking racism. When people see your fucking name or skin color doesn't match as theirs, they fucking get triggered, dude. I've been seeing more and more. In 2015 or 2014, I fucking decided to, spell out my whole name and put my brown face out there. Before that, I had like a logo or a superhero, a handle, like Wildcard Comics or something like that. And then I just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna, go out there. And I noticed that, like, whether it was sports or local weather or whatever the fuck I was commenting on, I got more haters talking shit to me because I was a minority. I had a minority sounding name. My profile had a minority face on it. And it's fucking true, dude. There's a lot more motherfuckers who always want to pick a fight with you. And God fucking forbids if it's an entitled white dude who always wants to have the last fucking word. I'm going to make a chart one of these days on how these assholes operate. Because, like, I'm noticing that, like, I don't really get triggered anymore from political conversations because I've been on the comic book wars. I've been on the console wars. And every fucking time it's the same line of questioning. And I am amused by it. I should fucking build a flow chart on how these fuckers get triggered, because it's always like, well, what have you done? And then you're like, well, I actually have done this. Well, that's not good enough. And then if you go, what about you? They don't say shit. They still keep asking you, barraging you with questions. But, as soon as you're like, hey, man, what about you? What have you fucking done? What are your qualifications? The only thing they have going for them, they're loud, they're wide, they're entitled. And what I'm saying is that if somebody pulls like a card, like, oh, my gender, don't offend me. And I'm like, oh, my race, don't offend me. They get double triggered. So for instance, like, I'm going to show you this one. This is fucking precious because, like, we have Lexi Overlord over here, and she goes, Jay Olivia didn't read the comic. He directed the movie adaptation, and I'm not gonna side with a mediocre director who's made a couple of average at best movies and whose only response to the criticism of his movies was to make fun of those criticisms. Again, white lady talking to a Filipino dude. Will she pull the gender card and is he going to pull the race card? No. But we can. That would trigger her more. And now we have a word for her. Karen. Jay replies, how do you know I didn't read the comic? If you bothered to go to my Twitter page, do a little research. Google is your friend. You'd see that the top pinned tweet is a copy of The Dark Knight Rises. This is the movie adaptation they're talking about that I found from 1986. I read it back in 1986, and it's been one of my favorite Batman stories since I was 10. Again, lazy white ladies not doing Google research, lazy white people berating minorities, and minorities putting them in their place. What was the response? This tweet is unavailable. She fucking erased her shit, and this happens all the fucking time, dude. Like, I don't really understand what it is about being white that you feel the need to make fun of minorities because I like DC. You wouldn't say this shit about a Disney fan. You wouldn't say shit to anybody, you know? And sometimes people get fucking triggered, you know? Like, now that this guy is no longer working for Disney, for Star Wars, John Boyega, you know? He's like, I really fucking hate racists. And then some white dude's like, hey, you know, so do I, but stop swearing as you have young Star Wars fan follow you. John Boyega replies, this is my own personal account. I am not here for the kids. Boom. It's almost like, as minorities, we have to, like, be the obedient minority. As soon as we fucking step out of line, motherfuckers are like, hey, no. And I'm like, that is all kinds of fucked up. And I really don't understand what makes people say that stupid shit. So, for instance, like, all right, there were some, you know, in the last podcast I mentioned that Ray Fisher said that Joss Whedon's behavior on set was unacceptable, right? You know, accountability is better than entertainment. He left it at that, right? There were other websites that, one of them was talking about how, well, in the podcast, Inside of You, the actor who plays Spike Matterson, was talking about an incident that occurred where Joss Whedon pinned him to the wall and said, you're fucking dead, man. Your character is fucking dead. Apparently, Joss Whedon did not like the popularity of Spike and how much fame this actor was getting, and that all the attention was going to him, to the actor, to the character. Fans were going fucking crazy for Spike. It's almost the kind of level of popularity that Loki had, you know? Because the actor was charming. You know, fucking the actor who played Spike is, you know, chiseled jaw, something that Joss Whedon doesn't have. The actor who played Spike Matterson had like a beautiful blonde hair, something that Joss Whedon doesn't have anymore. So a lot of people were like, man, this guy's just fucking acting out of jealousy, right? And that's what it felt like. And Spike, the actor, you know, plays him, kind of said, you know, I'm pretty sure that he was just playing, or that was the way that he was venting. And, you know, he was like, hey, man, it's your fucking character. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It's your show. But he did feel that it was kind of like out of ordinary. You know, like Spielberg wouldn't do this. You know, they've crucified Michael Bay for less. So yeah, that article was kind of fucked up. And then another article popped up about a stunt couple that Joss Whedon also berated. Apparently, how was this story unfolding? There were a couple, and they were asked to break up, you know, because they were a couple, they were working on the show, and they were spending a lot of time together, and somehow that pissed off Joss Whedon. And that seemed to come out of nowhere. I don't know if Joss Whedon had like a thing for this stunt lady, but it seemed kind of fucking inappropriate. You know, I understand that you wanted to, you know, it's not that they were fucking on set, you know, so it's like, what the fuck? And this is really bizarre. So when, you know, when Ray Fisher started talking more about that unprofessional behavior of Joss Whedon, you know, Andy Signore and Jody's Corner both really got on his case, you know, and, you know, Ray Fisher kind of had to be like, hey, I'm still very much under contract, you know, and he tried to, like, you know, not saying much, but that didn't stop them. And then there was this horrible fucking thing where, like, Jody's Corner made fun of Ray of Ray's name. He replaced the R with a G. And he blamed that, oh yeah, that's how I talk, that's my accent. That's how I say Kanye. But I'm sorry, nobody talks like that. We've never heard anybody called Kanye that. That is completely out of line. Even the automated text and YouTube spelled out that racist, sexist, homophobic slur. And people are like, no, he said yay. I'm like, really? Okay. How do you say the word a cut? Does he say it with a hard G too? How do you say, all these words? Like, if I was to go to court, I would ask Jody to be like, okay, out of all your recordings, this is a list of the words that have yay in it, like yellow. Yemen. Can you say the word Yemen in the same kind of your take on the word yay? Can you say Yemen that way? Have I ever heard you say the word Yemen that way? No. Can you say fired that way? Anyways, a lawyer would tear him apart. And we should know, fucking here in the Bay Area, we had a bunch of rappers from Vallejo. This nation, they used to call it the Yay area. So we know that this shit isn't like a lingo thing. This isn't like a rapper thing. No, this is just fucking homophobic. And he got caught. And he got in trouble. And he went on this fucking long-ass rant, doubling down and saying that it was Kanye, even though you can see that his muscles were quite different when he says Kanye versus Ye Fisher. There's those muscles next to between your cheeks and your nose. He's making that frown like yay. Yeah, so it was a homophobic slur that he said. And anyways, so he fucking got triggered. And Ray Fisher called him out. And it caused a lot of fucking problems, dude. Like, a lot of people were like, no, leave him alone. But eventually, Jody's corner had to step away for a little bit. And that's the problem. It's like, why are you hating so much on, Ray Fisher that you have to go the homophobic route? What the fuck is he doing? And I think that Andy Signor and Jody's Corner basically hoard out to the anti-Zack Snyder movement and pro-Marvel because it gave them money. It gave them clicks. And that's how they made a living. Instead of create, they got addicted to destroying. And when this movement came to fruition, they fucking didn't know what to handle. They're like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna become like the Fandom Menace? Are we gonna pick on something? Like, no. Like, Fandom Menace, they have their own little corner. There's nobody taking their spot, dude. They're so popular. They figure out a long time ago what sells, and they market it. I don't agree with it, but they're fucking doing it. So then you have like all these people who for years were shitting on the Zack Snyder cut, and they have no more bread and butter to go. So yeah, and unfortunately, I feel we're gonna get a lot more people that are gonna hate it because it's not like joke and done. But fuck them. And we started off with a interview with Zack Snyder being interviewed by Grace Randolph. And it came out of left field. I know that some people, were calling her Disgrace Randolph, and I myself haven't been the biggest fan of her. This interview doesn't really wins me over for everything that she has said. However, I think the way a lot of dudes have fucking talk shit about her figure, the way she looks, whether or not it's she's pleasant to the eyes or whatever, it's kind of fucked up. I always thought that she was looking for a scoop rather than doing the legwork. For instance, that fight with Kathy Yand was fucking ridiculous. That shit did not need to be there. I think Grace should have apologized there. And she should have, I don't know, maybe not make a joke about that situation. But anyways, does the Zack Snyder interview made me kind of go pro Randall? Not so much. If anything, it just kind of made me go, okay, I don't dislike this person. I'm just kind of neutral. And, Zack Snyder talked about the process, how the aspect ratio was really important to him, how, the assembly cut was 5 hours, and how he was just refining this. The interview was nice. I know that they were talking mostly about, she just really wanted to get a scoop out of him. And, it wasn't the greatest interview, but, and, okay. The interesting thing is that when this interview came out, they were talking about, the takeaway was that he is following his tone from Man of Steel to BBS to his Justice League. And a lot of people interpreted this as oh, this is going to be an alternate reality, the Zack Snyder universe, and the solo movies don't really count, and they're outside of that. And I'm not, that's all good for clickbait and shit, but I'm not seeing a lot of the problems. Even after right now seeing the Snyder Cut, I don't see how this Snyder Cut negates anything that happened in Wonder Woman or Aquaman or Shazam, or even Birds of Prey. There isn't, the only thing that I see in continuity is that in the Snyder Cut, Jason Momoa's eyes are shark white, which he did talk about quite a bit. And in James Wan, Aquaman has yellow eyes. So, and the trailer that we saw, Jason Momoa still has those shark white eyes, but they could also be changed in post. Maybe he's gonna do that. And that's the thing. It's it should not, just that little bit of continuity shouldn't fucking bother people. I mean, MCU switched War Machine actors, Hulk actors. Maybe they're gonna switch Hawkeye now that the actor is beating his wife and stuff and just fucking abusive. So, who knows? But this shouldn't be because that one fucking tiny little thing, the Zack Snyder universe is separate. No, but I think the tone of Zack Snyder trilogy is gonna be, it's like a tree trunk. He's the main tree trunk. And then the solo movies are the branches, and that's how it should be. And he also kind of hinted what, you should allow filmmakers to do whatever the fuck they want and not worry so much about continuity. He also praised Matt Reeves' Batman, and how his Batman can be different than Matt Reeves' Batman, and it's fucking fine. So that was a takeaway from this interview, and they talked about the soundtrack from Junkie XL, the running time, working in quarantine. He was just saying that he was just super fucking busy. Yeah, so, and he reiterates his Cyborg is the heart of the Justice League. And again, pretty cool interview right before the Justice Con. So nice. Now, one of the really cool panels that I am going to recommend that you go back and watch if you didn't already. It's not on Justice Con, but Comic Con from home. I know that they didn't have a lot of cool shit to begin with, but there is some cool stuff. If you're a minority, they have a lot of panels on like diversity, people of color, and Black Lives Matter. There are a couple of Latino panels, so that was pretty cool. But overall, it was very quiet, However, this it's I'm really surprised that there were no headlines on this. This is fucking amazing. You basically have a Jack Kirby tribute panel. One of my favorite artists is there, Alex Ross. If you recall, Alex Ross got into a bit of an argument with Kevin Smith because in the movie Mallrats, the character of Brody meets Stan Lee. And, basically Brody's like, hey, you created the X-Men, the Hulk, and all these characters. And Stanley was like, oh, yeah, And Alex Ross took a big offense to that. And Kevin Smith called him a 2-bit artist. I know, it hurt his ego, but since Kevin Smith is a writer, of course he's going to gravitate towards the writer of those early Marvel comics. However, without getting into any legal problems, rumor has it, and you can watch this for yourself, rumor has it, and it is inferred by many other artists who were working in the field, that the way those old comics worked was, and it's something that I brought up before, there's a guy that works for Disney and Hulu who made a documentary about how Bob Kane used to go to warehouses where all these other artists were, and we're like, I need stories with this in it. I want them done in a week. I'll come back, I'll pay you guys, and I'll put my name on it. And that stuff is allowed to be said about Bob Kane. However, if you say that Stan Lee did that with Jack Kirby, you can get into a lot of trouble. That's why nobody has ever come out and said it fucking flat out loud. People have said, well, they infer, they kind of let your mind do that. And the state of Kirby and Disney and Marvel had an agreement, like a closed off agreement that we can't, as the public, ever see, because it was like a non-disclosure agreement. Where they paid a lot of money for the state of Kirby to kind of never speak of this. But in this really fucking groundbreaking interview, you can kind of see that Alex Ross kind of sheds light on who was the real creative force behind Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and that being Jack Kirby. Because the way I recall is that Jack Kirby didn't have the punchy dialogue that the 70s needed, or the 60s kid even. His way of talking was mostly from the 40s. He was still back in those days where, like, the way people spoke in the 40s. And what Stan Lee did was, like, amp it up for the baby boomers. But Jack was mostly concerned on the mythos, the story arc, the mythology. And yeah, that is definitely the main difference between the two, is that Jack Kirby focused on the mythology, on all the character arcs, archetypes, and things like that. While Stanley focused more on putting his name in the book. That's why, that's where I always tell people that's where the quippy one-liners come in, because Jack Kirby would have this amazing 2-page spread or like a giant nice drawing of fights, of action, this amazing artwork. And it's like Stanley came in and said, that looks great. Wouldn't it be bad if someone ruined it with like my dialogue? And that's why you get the one-liners during fights. Because Stanley was like, oh, this is good artwork. I better put fucking something in there. Again, that's what it fucking seems, right? So, again, I am going to link this for you. Please do it. Do yourself a favor and watch this. Jack Kirby is a true talent behind Marvel. And over here in DC, we fucking love him. Because he created, the Fourth World and Darkseid and New Gods. Come on. What's not to love about Jack Kirby? So I really was looking forward to the panel from Comic-Con at Home celebrating Constantine with Keanu. However, me and my girlfriend started watching it, and she was the first one to point out that the interviewer was shit. And it's none other than Collider's own Frosty. So we fucking had to stop, unfortunately. If you can stomach Frosty, go watch it. Otherwise, An Evening with Kevin Smith has kind of, become a staple of the Comic-Cons and also his stand-up traveling routine. On this particular occasion, he did have one of those An Evening with Kevin Smith from Comic-Con 2020 at Home. But I'm sorry, the way the fucking bleeping sounds were done, it's fucking annoying, because he swears all the fucking time, but the bleeping was louder than his voice, and it just became fucking annoying. I tried to listen to it I was listening to it on my headphones. I was like, fuck this. I put it on my phone, just regular speakers on my phone, and it's still fucking loud and annoying. I was like, fuck this. I tried to watch it on my computer and on my fucking TV, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. I can't fucking recommend that shit. Yeah, dude, it's like, why the fuck would you do that? Why the fuck do you, bleep Kevin Smith, or have, one that is bleeped, one for adults? Like, fuck it, dude. So I wanted to watch that, and now I can't. It's fucking annoying. So I had to, my consolation prize, Bill and Ted Face the Music. Like us nerdy people, we like other shit than just like Marvel DC. So this is fucking awesome, We get to see Neo John Wick in this movie. Also, we get to see the conclusion of this amazing trilogy. It's been years in the making. They've been trying to make a Bill and Ted 3 forever, since I don't know, it seems like almost 10 years ago. So go ahead and check it out. I know it's not part of the DCU, but dude, we're all fucking nerds, and definitely expand your mind. I have been amazed that recently I discovered this guy from Australia. He just likes nerdy shit, and he's detached from the bipolarity toxicity from the US. He just likes shit. He doesn't give a fuck about Rotten Tomatoes, the box office, or who's more popular, who's more likable. He just fucking likes shit, and it doesn't matter to him. He just likes shit. And I kind of think that people in the US have become so fucking bipolarized by this shit that they can't enjoy shit. When Wonder Woman was named UN ambassador, all the Marvel kids were like, fuck. They were like, fuck this. And they eventually removed her. How fucked up that is, So anyways, Bill and Ted, Face the Music. It's a cool panel. Definitely check it out. This isn't a commercial for the movie, but definitely buy it when it comes out on video on demand. And the first interview that I got to listen to in Justice Con was the Fabian Wagner interview, who is the cinematographer for Justice League. And he's just like a regular dude. I mean, he talked about, his favorite film with Zack Snyder was Watchmen, and he was very proud of the work Larry Fong had done there as a cinematographer. And he said that, I don't know if Larry Fong gave Zack Snyder his information, because Larry Fong was busy filming Predator, and Fabian said maybe that's why I got the job, because Larry Fong was busy, because he says that, like, Larry Fong and Zack Snyder, they're college roommates or college buddies. They studied together, and they're kind of like a pair. So he felt like, oh wow, it's a great privilege to work here. He was asked, like, what's the difference between television and film, and he kind of said, like, not many things are different anymore, because the cinematic achievements of the things he worked on, Game of Thrones mostly, Game of Thrones was very cinematic, and while the schedule was tight, because they were working on this amazing endeavor, they were under unions, so they couldn't really, like, be like in the movie industry where, like, fuck it, we're gonna work until this is done. And even then, like, the US also still has unions in Hollywood. So he was talking about how there isn't that much difference between shooting film and movies anymore, which kind of, and he talked about it makes sense that, this movie is coming to HBO Max. It just makes sense. And he shared this wonderful story how one of the most wonderful things about working on that movie is that he got to meet his wife. He said it was love at first sight, that she was working in the hair department, and he was just smitten. He was also happy about inviting members of his family, like nieces and nephews and stuff, to visit the set, and how open everybody on the cast was to, having kids around, and how welcoming they were. And the kids were like, the kids didn't know who, like, Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck or anybody was, but they recognized the costumes and they thought they were real. Very cute. When asked about the aspect ratio, he kind of elaborated that it was Zack's idea to get more coverage that way and to do something different. I will definitely attach a video that I've been referencing quite often for the aspect ratio explanation, because it's the best one that I've seen, and I don't think this guy is very clickbaity, and he's just honestly excited for the film. So yeah, overall that was really a really good interview, and I think that he wasn't like raised in comics. He was more like he got into cinematography because him and his friends started making movies, and then, like, he was like, I guess I'll be the cameraman. Seems very down to earth, and I think sometimes in this fandom we forget that, like, not everybody's like a super geek. There's regular people working and making movies, and this guy seems very down to earth, very humble. When asked if he would return, he'd be like, I don't know, man. I'm humble that I got to film the Justice League. I don't know, but sure, So it was kind of wonderful because in the news, he said that when he watched the theatrical cut, he cried because he was just like, my work's destroyed, It's like, and he seems a little kind of like hurt by the theatrical cut, and he kind of is like not believing that this is happening. He thanked the fans But yeah, it was a pretty cool interview. I think the gals did an amazing job. Check it out. Jay Slayer Olivia. Fuck. This was one of the most fun ones. I think that he did most of the talking. The way that it was explained to us is that he looked at the time in Easter time. Like he thought he thought the interview was going to happen at like 11 a.m. or something, and he was like, "Oh shit, it's actually at 7." Or something like that, that he got the times mixed up, so he's like, "Oh shit." And he like recently had his coffee and he was like, "Fuck it, let's go." So he was really fucking wired and nonchalant about it. The most wonderful story is how he got to meet Zack Snyder. He was called on to the Warner Brothers office, and he's like, fuck, I'm gonna get fired. Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? I'm gonna get fired. And they're like, no. They're like, hey, actually, Zack Snyder wants to meet you at his house. Do you know where he lives? And he's like, no. So he was given the address, and he's like, okay, you're gonna audition for storyboard artist, all right? And he's like, oh fuck, I have to audition, so he's like, he got lost somewhere in Hollywood. He and he's like minutes late to the interview, and he's like, he didn't see anybody in the house, and he's like, fuck, all the other prospects probably showed up early and they got the job, and I'm probably just gonna ask where the bathroom is and excuse myself. And he was like, but no, dude, I saw Zach. He's like, hey man, how's it going? I was like, oh yeah. So he immediately just like started showing him artwork around the house and all this cool concept art, and Zach's like, so have you read the script yet? He's like, what script? He's like, well, it's in here. Check it out. Tell me what you think. And Jay was like, I haven't been treated like that before, where like some director with a giant budget invites me to his house, nonchalant. It's like, hey, I want to get your opinion on the script. How would you improve it? What are your thoughts? Give me your notes. Because like Zach usually storyboards everything, everything that he writes and everything that he storyboards, he films, right? Well, this was new to Jay, because he was like, well, Zach, you already have all these storyboards. Why do you want me to do this? And apparently it's like Zach's really good at collaborating with people. He's really open to the ideas. That's why whenever I go online and people blame Zack Snyder for his writing, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He didn't write the script. Are you fucking dumb? Or people are like, oh my god, his movies they look so dark. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but he's not the cinematographer, dude. Do you know how shit works? So he likes to collaborate, and I think that's what pisses people off, is that they want to be like, oh, Zack Snyder's evil, and you're like, why? Well, his cinematography, his writing. I'm like, that's not his. Like, he supervises that shit, but he collaborates with people. So Jay talked about that. He also talked about having mad props and respect for Snyder. He talked about working on the Dark Knight Rises movie, which I recommend you buy and sit down and watch it completely. It's volume 1 and 2, 90 minutes each, so it's a 3-hour movie. Do yourself a favor, man. Watch it completely in one sitting. He also talks about a new animation studio that he has, and he's making an animation based on a Filipino comic book called Trece, which means 13. See, Filipinos and us in South America, we were both conquered by the Spanish, and Filipino have Talagog. Hopefully I said that right. It's their language, but there's a lot of words in Spanish that we kind of share. Like adobo. We have that word in Spanish too. Our dish is not as tasty as the Filipino adobo, but yeah. So yeah, he's doing a Filipino inspired animation based on a Filipino comic book, and he's like, yeah, man, now I don't know if I can do a lot of storyboards because I'm a head of a studio, an animation studio, and it's fucking great, man. He was like, oh, I have a Iron Man helmet behind me. I hope nobody gives me shit. So, great panel. Follow him on Twitter. He is always defending the righteous out there. He's not a bully. We call him Jay Slayer because he slays haters. So if Jay Oliva talks shit to you, you fucked up. You did something wrong. And I think it's from his upbringing. I'm kind of the same way. I don't go out and pick fights. But if I see like a bully, I'll put that fucker in their place. I don't give a fuck who it is. Bullying is not right. I'm not one of those hypocrites who are like, yes, I watch superhero movies, but I'll let assholes get away with whatever the fuck they want. Like, no, dude. I don't watch these movies because of this dumb entertainment. These icons mean something to little kids. They mean something to us. This is our new mythology, And if you don't stand up to bullies and like superheroes, the fuck are you doing? So watch that panel. Alright, this panel is called Diversity in Zack Snyder Films. It features the lead Farouk brother from Comic Book Debate. It also features Janita Davis, who wrote the infamous article in Medium called The Justice League Whitewashing. Kind of told you everything that went down behind the scenes. We also have Chris Wong from YouTube, Ping Pong Films. It's the name of his YouTube channel. And this panel was really, really cool. I actually had to record the audio again because of my microphone. I'm just using an iPhone. And whenever there is a little bit of wind close to the microphone, there's a little ruffle that goes in, and I apologize for that for this whole episode. I am going to buy an actual microphone whenever I can. Now, this panel was really good. I think that most of us can agree that we've had some interactions with some people online that were quite unpleasant. I recall Farouk made a hashtag for us, Diverse DC Stands. You can still look it up, and it was the result of bullying. Ben Shapiro from the right-wing media liked something related to Batman and Mr. Superman, and all of a sudden you had entitled white people say all DC fandom was just basically like Ben Shapiro. And we decided that was not okay. We revolted against that and decided to, join this hashtag and told our story, and we were all diverse. And the biggest shock is that, the haters of DC kind of just ignore us. They didn't, say it, my bad. They didn't say, oh, I apologize. I didn't know there was so much diversity in DC comic fandom. No, that's a white privilege thing. You can have a website or a YouTube channel, be white, and say whatever the fuck you want without any repercussions. I mean, that's unfortunate to decide the state of affairs. And the panel did talk about how hard it is to not have that kind of privilege. A lot of people want Superman to be 1950s Americana, and we've never had that idealized place as minorities. Some people were not even allowed to sit in the same benches as others, we had segregation and things like that. So this panel was really insightful. Most of it was talking about how diverse people tend to be and how characters empower that. One of the wonderful things that was talked about was Superman and how him being an alien basically makes him relatable to everybody in the world. It was quite impactful. They did discuss about how it was kind of unfortunate that most of the side characters that were cut from the theatrical cut of Justice League by Joss Whedon were mostly minorities who were cast to the side. And, they talk about how Ray Fisher's, kind of spearheading their, some reparations for that. And that's really lovely. They also talked about, how much representation matters, not just as a token minority, but actually have minority people in creative control. I don't know. I have heard and done a lot about minority struggles in this channel alone. So if you care more about that, go for it. You're in for a treat. Most of these people are DC fans, and it's just, it's more ammunition against the haters, because it's like you destroy their stereotypes of us, and it's a reaffirmation that we are diverse in DC. The panel with Deborah Snyder and the Amazons was actually pretty damn cool. I happened to catch this episode with my girlfriend early in the morning, and she really enjoyed it. She felt inspired, and she felt empowered. And I think that as a dude, you can never really fully grasp what women are going through. The best one can do is just to be a partner. And that's what it seems, the relationship that both Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder have. They met while doing a commercial. She's a gal from New Jersey. She went to New York and, did some studying for marketing, and she met Zack, and they've been together ever since as collaborators. And I think that really helps. It's the same dynamic as the Nolan couple. Also Peter Jackson and his wife. Andy Muschietti, who's doing The Flash. The producer of Aquaman and Shazam also has his wife as a producing partner. So there are quite a bit of people. Fran is Peter Jackson's wife. I remember because she did a great job with the scripts. She's very, very talented. So yeah, we have these amazing power couples, and it just seems that the dynamic of the Snyders is very healthy. Deborah talked about how even though they live together, they try to work things out and never leave anything hanging. For instance, they never get hung up on the negative. They always try to resolve things and never let things linger, which is pretty damn healthy. Deborah also talked about how organically she's been more inclusive, getting more ladies involved in filmmaking. She says it has been less difficult as of late. It's a great choice of words. And it was very inspirational. She's the rock, because I can see that Zack is very, very visual. I know that he suffers from dyslexia, so that's why he's always hiring writers so they can do what he feels, and then he can just film. But yeah, it was a great panel. Like I said, and I watched it with my girlfriend, and she was really, really inspired. So it's kind of amazing how having someone on your side just kind of makes you aware, and that's why representation matters. Us dudes, we're better because we have a girlfriend. And just imagine society when they have these great female icons. I'm looking forward to seeing the behind-the-scenes footage of Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Deborah mentioned that the stunt choreographer for Justice League is this amazing female stunt person. So we should get her more to do more stunts in the movies, because if you've seen the footage that was cut from Justice League, you're going to be amazed. The panel with Ray Fisher was very enlightening. I do not know what the regiment is for this amazing, talented actor, but he is very, very zen. I want to know his secret. I want to follow him. I want to study him. I want to study under him, because the coolness factor, calmness factor of this man was very inspiring. Aside from everything that's going on in the world, this man suits calmness, and it's very, very important, especially for me, to find your center, to find your zen. There were two heartbreaking moments in this interview. One is when Ray talks about meeting kids with disabilities, Cyborg, having all these prostheses on him, kind of made him the figure, the superhero for, people with disabilities and handicaps. So meeting little kids that are missing a leg or an arm, when they kind of smile at him and go, "Hey, I'm Cyborg too," that kind of gets to him, and it's fucking emotional, to be quite honest, in a good way. Like, there's still good kids in this world who are like, "I'm a superhero too, I have a prosthetic leg or a prosthetic limb." It gets to you, man. And I think I was not expecting that, because while I had seen those images from fans and stuff like that on Twitter, just hearing the main actor talking about it, Ray, is just pretty emotional. And the other emotional part was him talking about the investigation and inviting Joss Whedon to sue if he feels he's being wronged. And the reason why it's emotional is because one of the most dedicated person that he saw every day was a barber, and he was cut from the credits. And if you know anything about the pandemic right now, you need to show proof of work to get some benefits. If this particular person wanted to get some kind of benefit employment and stuff, and he could have landed better jobs if he was credited as working in the Justice League blockbuster that he was, actually working. And, Ray talks about in a previous job how he managed to get people unionized, and what the biggest regret was that people who'd been there for 10 years or so, they were let go, and he wants to make sure that even though he's a young man, he can take it. He wants to make sure that people who have no one to defend him don't suffer that again, which is why this investigation is really, powerful. And again, check out the wonderful interview, and Zack Snyder chimed in to give him props, and to say that he is indeed the heart of the Justice League. Check out this panel; it's really amazing. All right, and the panel that kind of closed off this amazing Justice Con was that of Zack Snyder. And there are other panels that I didn't get a chance to watch, and it's mostly because I follow most of the people already. For instance, Sean O'Connell, who's writing the book for behind the scenes of the Snyder Cut. He runs a Cinema Blend. I subscribe to his channel, and he gave us a nice review of the panel and things like that. Also, Ray Porter, who plays Darkseid, he seems like a cool dude. I still need to check that one out. Clay Enos, I do enjoy his photography. I follow him on Vero, so it's a lot of stuff to catch up on. Like I mentioned, I was very sick with COVID, and not as bad as other folks. I was very lucky in that regard, but there was only so much I was able to do and focus when that horrible illness hit. Like, I kid you not. And that's what Zack Snyder does for me. He gives me hope. You know, one of the main things of the panel is that he was talking about how important it is for people to come together. And I recall having to make a decision because there was a notification for a statue for Cyborg from the Justice League to complete my collection. And I basically was like, okay, the family needs a car. If the fires come, we need a car to drive away. So we're saving money for a car. And also with all the COVID stuff going on, we had to pretty much stay quarantined for a couple of weeks. And that meant ordering food in, ordering groceries, and my wallet's taken quite a hefty catch. And it was one of those things where, like, well, I could be a fanboy and just buy the statue, or I could think of my family first. And family comes first, guys. You know, when I got COVID, same thing. I was like, what am I going to do with all my possessions? Of course, my family can sell them and stuff, but I wasn't even thinking of myself. I was thinking of my family, and that's what Zach was talking about. He's like, you know what? I was just working through the grief, and my family needed me. And I don't think anybody can blame him for that. That's why he's very, very grateful that we raise money for suicide awareness prevention. That is saving lives. He said, like, you know, even if this movie is never released, the fact that you guys did that was very, very emotional. And you can see the man is moved by this. This is something deeply personal. And that's something that, you know, we all did. You know, with a little grain, it would build a sandcastle. So yeah, it was very emotional. And he did reveal that Superman wears a black suit, which is why I chose the black suit Superman statue that I have as the background for this podcast. It was kind of a nice reveal. And again, you know, most people who say they didn't look that good, it's because they were streaming it, or the resolution was not very high, or they were looking at it on their phone, and, you know, a lot of those technical things that haters always forget is their fault. So Zach was very inspirational, and again, JusticeCon managed to get more clout than Comic-Con. Quite an achievement, really. And I think it's basically because most of fandom is really, really looking forward to what the Snyder Cut is, and we get a lot of hype, and I'm still catching up on all of it. And the next podcast is going to be the Fandom. So thank you for watching. I apologize once again for the quality of the audio in some of these segments. I am going to save up money to buy a new microphone. Hopefully it'll debut on episode 60 with a brand new intro or some cool stuff like that. Later, guys. Dile sí a DC Domingo.